a good question.
안녕하세요. 저희는 모파랑 26기 체험파랑
배우파랑입니다.
네, 저희는 지금 뉴질랜드 대사관에 와 있는데요. 배우파랑 혹시 뉴질랜드 하면 어떤 게 가장 먼저 떠오르시나요?
많은 것들이 있지만 아무래도 뉴질랜드의 자연환경이나 아니면 마오리 문화 아닐까요?
맞아요. 그래서 저희는 오늘 그 뉴질랜드의 매력 속으로 빠져보기 위해서 찾아왔습니다. 저희와 함께 오늘 그 매력 속으로 빠져보실까요?
Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for taking time for having a great interview to join us today. Earlier, we had the wonderful opportunity to attend Hiwa's powerful performance, Kaka Haka, at the National Museum of Korea, an event proudly hosted by here, New Zealand Embassy. Hoping to dive deeper into traditional New Zealand, could you introduce some distinctive elements of Maori culture?
Sure, what a great question. Well, many Korean people know about the haka as the most famous Maori dance element, which is performed by the rugby team, the All Blacks, before every game. And many people also know about the facial tattoos that Maori people traditionally wear, the moko. But there are other elements of Maori culture that I think are very interesting. For example, traditional Maori foods such as kumara, which is sweet potato, which you call guguma. All of these traditional Maori foods reflect the very deep relationship of Maori people with the land and with the seasons, very connected to nature. On the musical front, as well as the haka, there are also waiata tangi, which are a kind of a lament that can be very beautiful. And on the dance front, the poi, which is those round white things that they twirl, that is a very traditional aspect of Maori culture. And that I'd just like to mention, which I think would be very meaningful to Korean people in the Maori culture, is some spiritual concepts. Like in Maori we have a spiritual concept called whakawhanongatanga, which is all about relationship building and the importance of connections between people. There's also pōwhiri, which are traditional welcoming ceremonies, which are about making those connections with people. And karakia, which is a kind of prayer or opening sentiment for before food or at the beginning of meetings or the end of meetings and gatherings. These reflect the very deep spirituality within the Maori culture.
So following up to the previous question, what efforts are being made in New Zealand to promote and share these distinctive culture with the international community?
It's a good question. As New Zealand diplomats, myself and my team, we spend a lot of time obviously sharing New Zealand culture with the world. And we draw very heavily on the Maori aspects of New Zealand culture. This is what differentiates us. We do a lot of things to promote Maori culture. I start all my speeches with a few words in Maori, for example. I often interweave into my speeches Maori sayings. We sing a lot also. Singing Maori songs or waiata is a very important part of Maori culture.
I hope to join those singing.
You would be very welcome.
Proceeding to next question. Korea is a country that uses its own unique language, Korean, and has been making continuous effort to preserve both its language and traditional culture in the face of globalization. Could you find any historical background or cultural trait that Korea and New Zealand possess in common?
Yes, indeed. This is something that is a very important connecting factor between Korea and New Zealand. That both of our countries, we have a very meaningful parallel in that we are quite dedicated to preserving our unique cultural identity and language. I know that Korea has gone through a lot of it, continues to make a lot of effort to preserve Korean language and traditional culture, and New Zealand is also doing the same with our indigenous Māori language and culture. Our countries have both been through particular periods in history where where external influences pose challenges to the indigenous and traditional language and culture, and so we have that in common, that we have had to get over that and surmount the challenges and then continue to develop the tradition and language to reflect the fact that it's a living culture, still evolving today.
Now, was there a moment when you felt a strong connection between those New Zealand culture and South Korean one, or perhaps surprises?
Yes, well, a strong and surprising thing I discovered on arrival here was that there is a song, a traditional song, well, a very common folk song in Korea that is actually based on a New Zealand Maori song. Maybe you all know it. It's called Yonga, and it goes Bibarami Chidon Pada. Yes, that song is based on a Maori song, which is actually called Pukarikariana. Pukarikariana. Yes, so that was a big surprise to me, and I've also been surprised at how popular that is. So many times when I'm at diplomatic events or dinners and I have to make a toast to a large Korean audience, instead of making a long-winded speech, I sing that song instead.
Changing a topic a little bit, this year marks the 10th anniversary of the Korea and New Zealand Free Trade Agreement. To encourage further cooperation, I'd like to ask a few questions about our economic relationship between two countries. First one is celebrating a lovely decade two countries have gone together. Reflecting on the past decade, which was the most meaningful achievement of the Korea-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement?
That's a good question. As you note, we are now celebrating this year our 10th anniversary of the Korea-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement, which we affectionately call the Kinsfita. And Kinsfita overall has been a great success story. In the 10 years of this free trade agreement, trade has more than doubled between our two countries. We have a very sort of complementary economy between us. Kinsfita has also stayed up to date and is continually adding new elements. So for example, just recently we have achieved new market access to the Korean market for New Zealand blueberries and certain New Zealand dairy products. And in return, Korean mandarins have gained access to New Zealand. So it's an ongoing work in progress.
I love to try New Zealand's blueberry.
Ah, yes. Look out for them, they're very good.
In your opinion, which sector do you suggest for promising further collaboration between two countries?
Well, as you know, the international trading environment is constantly evolving. And we work very hard as diplomats, as do your Korean diplomats, to stay up to date and modern. One example of that is that, for example, New Zealand and Korea are both members of DIPA, which is the Digital Economic Partnership Agreement. That is a modern trade agreement which focuses on economic activities carried on through digital means and digital technologies.
South Korea is one of the major countries that send people to New Zealand on a working holiday. Is there any reason that New Zealand welcomes such a big number of Koreans into their country to stay and gain experience or pursue working opportunities?
Well, as I mentioned before, the heart of diplomacy and of international relations is people. The people-to-people connections are so important. So we're very happy to welcome 3,000 young Koreans every year to come and get to know New Zealand from a very young age. We hope also by drawing young people to New Zealand that they will come several times and they will bring back their experiences from New Zealand to Korea, as well as share their Korean culture with New Zealanders while they're in New Zealand. And all of this will help to establish stronger relations between our two countries at the people level, which is the most important and the heart of all international relations.
2025 is the 63rd year after South Korea and New Zealand have established the first ever diplomatic relationship. Ever since, both countries have well-maintained friendliness that spanned more than half a century. If you have thoughts freshly sprung up during the interview?
Oh, well, simply, I agree with you. I think New Zealand and Korea have a very strong partnership. We have traditional links founded in a very strong moment in history during the Korean War, when New Zealand was very quick to volunteer to come and help defend democracy and freedom in South Korea. We continue to be very engaged with Korea, and there is huge opportunity for us to collaborate both bilaterally to both of our countries' advantages, but also working together in addressing the rest of the world. So we can work together, and we often do in multilateral and international organizations, because we share many values that we then work together to project to the rest of the world. I think that's really important, and it's something that I want to work very hard to help to continue to achieve while I'm here on posting.
I hope this great friendship continues on.
So do I. Thank you very much. Thank you.
네, 이렇게 다양한 주제에 대해서 베넷 대사님과 많은 이야기 나눠보았는데요. 정말 유익한 시간이었습니다.
정말 정말 뉴질랜드의 매력에 흠뻑 빠질 수 있었던 그런 기회였습니다.
앞으로 한국과 뉴질랜드가 가까운 친구로서 더 활발한 교류를 이어나가길 바라면서 오늘 인터뷰 마치도록 하겠습니다. 지금까지 모파랑 26기 도요파랑
태연파랑이었습니다.
코타이타나